Good evening. It is Tuesday night, March 27th, 2018. The Sharks' winning streak comes to an end. A winning streak continues after this game, and a point streak continues after this game. And we are here to tell you all the bits and pieces, all about it tonight on Teal Town After Dark. Hello, everyone. I am Eric Cura. You can always follow me at Guy14 on the Twitter machine. And of course, this is your live and interactive Sharks postgame show. So nonetheless, if you want to be a part of the show, here's how you do it. Use that hashtag TealTownUSA on the Twitter machine. Make sure you follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, SoundCloud, and YouTube. But of course, you can always join us in the lively and exciting YouTube chat on the page or on the app. With me tonight is Mr. Chris JWS. How are you, good sir?
Hey there.
Hey there. And as our special guest, our good friend from Let's Go Blues Radio, Mr. Kurt Price. Good evening to you, sir. How are you?
I am doing well. How are you guys?
Certainly has reason to be doing well after that win.
Absolutely. That game was a pretty good one, very back and forth. But let's talk about this game as the Sharks end up on the losing end of a 3-2 final on this one. We'll talk about the first period right about now. Thank you, NHL.com, for just reloading on me at the last minute.
But well, naturally, it's NHL.com. I mean, if it doesn't take about 30 seconds to load, it's not working correctly.
Yeah, I know. It should take a minute. So while it's loading, guys, kind of a throwback segment, a beer of the night. What are you guys rocking?
You're muted.
Sorry, I'm muted. I am rocking Hop Smack by Top One Goliath. Hopefully the camera will focus there. A Midwest beer, actually, for the night.
Very nice. Kurt, what are you using as a tasty beverage on the evening?
My tasty beverage this evening is the citrus wheat beer from Old Bakery Beer in Alton, Illinois, which is just across the river up north of Tad from St. Louis. So it's a local beverage, and it's quite tasty. I've had it before on our show, so I like it.
And for full disclosure, I'm rocking the Kirkland Signature Purified Water.
Is that the 16.9 ounce?
Yes, the 500 milliliter for those up north in the Great White North. So now that everything is uploaded, let's talk about this game. As the Sharks came into this game with an 8-game winning streak, the Blues keeping their playoff hopes alive and getting right back into it with a 5-game winning streak, including 3 crazy games that have gone into overtime. The first period, Sharks get out early. Evander Kane, speaking of a guy who's been on fire lately, he gets his 29th of the season from Melker Karlsson and Brent Burns, who gets his 50th assist on the season at 6:26, 1-0 San Jose. A good start for the Sharks. Maybe a wake-up call for the Blues, guys?
I thought the Blues played I thought the Sharks played a really good first period against the Blues. I thought they took it to the Blues quite a bit. The Blues were it forced a lot of turnovers from St. Louis. They forced the Blues to mishandle the puck quite a bit. A lot of their tic-tac-toe passing that they've been so good at recently was not effective at all. So I think San Jose took it to the Blues, and I was a little concerned when it was 1-0 after Kane's goal. To be honest, the Sharks were looking pretty good.
Yeah, I'd agree. They were definitely pushing the pace early. Didn't surprise me when they slowed down later, because it was, I think, on the back-to-back 3 and 4 nights, didn't surprise me. They came out strong, but it would eventually fade, as we all will get to.
Yes. Unfortunately for the Sharks, good for the Blues, Oscar Sundqvist. That's right. The sun shines bright with Oscar. He gets his first goal of the season, his first goal, and I believe they said in 51 games from Periaco and Dunn to tie this game up with 2:17 left in the first period. Not a familiar name, Kurt, on the stat sheet here, but getting it done.
Yeah, no, as his first goal as a Blue too. So, yeah, no, Dunn made that play happen. He held the puck, held the blue line, drew a couple defenders tight, and it was kind of a risky play actually because that puck gets blocked. San Jose is going the other way, but um, puck worked its way over to Sundqvist to let a wrist shot go. I mean, he's not aiming; he's just throwing the puck at the net, and it had eyes. So it was a fortunate deal. Screenshot in front, so it worked out for the Blues.
Yeah. Maybe a defensive breakdown a little bit there, Chris, on that goal.
I heard some not the best defense, but like he said, it was a little bit of a risky shot, and hey, pays off. Sometimes, these are well, the Blues are definitely a desperate team, and the Sharks are a team that is trying to maintain their position. So both definitely have some desperation going, and desperate times call for desperate measures sometimes, and you take risks. So that's how it goes sometimes.
Yeah, the Sharks outshot the Blues 8-7 at first period. It didn't seem like that early on, but then the tide changed a little bit in the second period. But first, the Sharks get a power play goal as Joe Pavelski gets a tip from a Brent Burns shot pass to say at 7:07. Sharks get a power play goal. They break out of a quick 0-for-13 slump, which was making me concerned that I might have to do another jersey bet to get the power play going again.
Have you paid up on that yet?
Brody and I are working on a little deal here, but we'll see on that. Don't tell AJ because he's got to do one himself.
So your next jersey bet will have to be a Roy Sommer jersey.
Oh God, no! Dear God, no. But nonetheless, Pavs becomes the fourth 20-goal scorer for the Sharks this season. This is classic, Burns to Pavelski. Chris.
I mean, it was quintessential Pavelski. They even said, I was watching the Blues broadcast because I tend to check out the opposing broadcast a lot to hear what they have to say. And they pointed out, I think they said it's his 7th tipped goal in the year, and that leads the NHL. So, I mean, no surprise because he is, I don't know, is there anyone better in this generation at tipping pucks right now? Because, I mean, he is the best in the league, and I don't know. But that is a quintessential Pavelski goal right there.
Yeah, to answer that question, I would say no, there's not. I think the St. Louis found that out a couple years ago when they faced him in the playoffs in the conference finals. That was one thing that was very noticeable was Pavelski and his tips. So the beautiful goal. I mean, and most definitely, I think that was a pass by Burns. I mean, he knew what he was doing, and that was just a fantastic tip. So I tip my cap to Mr. Pavelski because that was beautiful. It was off the crossbar and down. I mean, you can't. You always, I guess, as a hockey fan, when your team gets beat by a goal, you don't want it to be a softie, right? I mean, you want beat, right? You want to be beat by one that you just could not stop, and that was one of them.
Yeah. And speaking of which, Vladimir Tarasenko, kind of like a little NHL 17 rivalry of sorts. Vladimir Tarasenko is like, oh, you got a power play goal? I'll get a power play goal. He gets his 30th on the season from Shannon Pietrangelo at 12:03, a power play goal. Definitely got the Blues back into this game. And to be honest, Kurt, I think he pretty much changed the momentum of this game as the Blues started to take everything over from the 12:03 mark onward.
Yeah, I thought the Blues improved their play overall substantially in the second period over the first. And San Jose's goal to put them up 2-1 was like, oh man. But yeah, it was interesting. The first two goals were very similar goals against, right? The both pucks go through the goalie under the arm, kind of goal gets a piece of it, and very similar goals. And the second two goals, again, similar power play goals. And to touch on your point where you said that there was the first, they had gone 0-for-12 on the power play, the Sharks did. And it was funny because when that was mentioned, on the air, I tweeted out on the show's account, I said, if Sharks 0-for-12 on the power play, that means they will get one this game against us. Guaranteed. Take to the bank, I guarantee you. And sure enough, next period they did. So that's the way it works. You mentioned that, it's like, oh, that streak ends tonight. But yeah, I mean, it was a huge goal, power play goal by Tarasenko. Well placed. A guy who has been struggled this year. I mean, it was his 30th goal of the season. So to say he's having an off year is it's 30 goals, but he wanted to get 50. He was mentioned before the season as saying he wanted to get 50 goals this season, and he's well shy of that. So he's turned it up a notch lately, along with the team. So that's good to see. So I guess I don't care if he gets 50 or 20 or 10. Get them when they count at the end of the season, get in the playoffs, and do your damage in the playoffs maybe. But yeah, it was a big goal, and this kind of answered Pavelski's goal. So especially with the Blues struggling to score goals the majority of the season, to answer San Jose twice was kind of a big deal.
Yeah, Chris, what did you take from the overall the second period? Like I said, I thought the momentum started changing in St. Louis's favor in that game, in that period.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, even before either team scored, it was already kind of time starting to tilt towards St. Louis. Sharks scored a goal, they scored right back, and then from the rest of the game there on out, they definitely had the better side of the shot counter. I mean, they didn't dominate it, but they were the ice was definitely tilted in one direction, and the Sharks never really put on a lot of big pushes after that. That power play goal, I can't think of many real good pushes they put on. They had a few chances, but they really had no sustained pressure that I recall.
Yeah, they didn't do much, and in the third period, the shots were 9-7 St. Louis. I'm trying to figure out where did the 7 shots come in. They had some here in like little scrambles, but I thought St. Louis really carried the play in the third period and kept San Jose on their heels. And for the most part, I think the puck possession really played a pivotal factor for the Blues to carry any and all momentum into overtime, Kurt.
Yeah, no, I was on one hand, I was very pleased the Blues got an important point going in overtime, and on the other hand, you get more nervous because I thought, aside from the first period, the Blues had the better of the play, and I was like, you win 2 out of 3 periods, and you really, but anything can happen in overtime. 3-on-3, both teams, fantastic top end talent, and either team could win in overtime, just the puck bouncing one way or the other. So it was just kind of making me really nervous to lose an extra point in a game that I'm sure Blues fans felt, it's not a must-win game for the Blues, but it was a game they really wanted to win. And to have the better of the play and then to maybe possibly lose it in overtime, lose extra point was kind of a scary thing. But it all worked out for Blues fans. I know with was it Sobotka? Sobotka's tenacity on the puck and the nice pass to Tarasenko, and Dell almost got it. He got a piece of that shot by Tarasenko, and I want to tip my cap to Dell in this game too. He was good. He was really good, I thought. Aside from maybe the first goal, goes through him. Maybe he want to have that one back, but I thought he was really good. I thought he was the reason this game went to overtime for San Jose, I think. So I was. Isn't Dell Computers based in San Jose or that area?
Yes.
I don't think it's based in San Jose. I think it's based in Texas, actually. But
okay,
they do have some offices out here.
Oh yeah, no, they have. If you're a technology company, of course you do. Completely spot on assessment about Dell. Honestly, he's the only reason why they got a point tonight. Because the most telling thing to me is in overtime, the Sharks were having a hard time getting speed going 3-on-3. If you have a hard time getting speed going 3-on-3, you're pretty gassed.
Yep.
So they look like a tired team, even in OT, and they look in the most energetic type of hockey there is in the game right now. They looked kind of slow. So that I think that's the tell all right there.
When the Sharks came out of the zone 3-on-2, I think it was Burns had the puck in overtime, and he passed it back to Dell. I'm not sure if that was a line change thing. I would assume it was, but and then Dell passes the puck up and they get the icing, and I want to say the Blues scored on that next shift. Was that correct? So, either way, I thought that was kind of interesting because they had the 3-on-2 break. Not that the 3-on-2 is anything that impressive, but you think you'd go with it in overtime, but. To pass it back, I thought was interesting to kind of give up that little rush and then to turn it over.
Exactly. I mean, like, it didn't seem like they, even with all that open ice, they just didn't have much in the way of legs. So not worried about it because they've been hitting the schedule hard. So hopefully next game is better on Thursday after they've had 48 hours of rest. But yeah, that certainly was the telling thing to me, is like, this isn't a execution thing. This is they don't have their damn legs.
Yeah, I guess if you can't run and gun in overtime, you're in trouble. Because that's pretty much what 3 running gunning.
Yeah, I mean, the worst teams can run and gun in overtime most of the time.
Yeah, which, you expect them to be tired, but maybe a little bit of concern that, they don't have their legs on a back-to-back, that they have over-exubed themselves a bit with the going into overtime and considering going through an 8-game winning streak where they've gone from battling to stay out of a wild card race to now you've almost secured the number 2 spot in the Pacific. Heck, they haven't even clinched the playoff spot yet. But I have just a little bit, or how AJ would say, just a scotch of a concern that they might have their legs, and hopefully that'll change as time goes on.
What has the Sharks how have they fared in the second game of back-to-backs this season overall? I ask because the Blues have been freakishly good in the second game of back-to-back games. It's like 11-2 or something crazy like that.
Wow.
I can give me about 5 minutes or 5 seconds. I can figure that out. But I think they haven't been really bad or really good. It doesn't stand out to me. I'm just looking at their most recent back-to-backs here. They won their last one in February. They lost one. Yeah, I'd say it seems like it's pretty well 50-50. They haven't really been particularly good or particularly bad. Yeah, I see an OT loss. I see a shootout loss. I see a shootout win. So, yeah, I would say it's been a mixed bag for them. That's just looking at the ones that happened since January. So I see some OT losses, see some shootout losses, see some wins, see some losses. So, yeah.
Yeah, they've been all over the pipe, I think. And they've, it's kind of a normal thing. I mean, kudos to St. Louis to having such a crazy run with back-to-backs success. Definitely nice to have, especially when you're battling for the wild card spot. In the chat, Bearded Sharks Guy 661. I wouldn't be too hard on the Sharks tonight. Second OT game in a hard-hitting, fast game under 24 hours, and the Blues gave them no time to rest. If the Sharks were rested, it could have been different.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. And Chicago, even if they're eliminated, they still have players. They still can give you some trouble. You can't take that win for granted there, and they definitely had to work for it last night. Maybe didn't totally deserve it, but they managed to get out there. I mean, anytime you take 3 points out of a back-to-back, you can't be too upset.
No, and to get out of a 18 points for the Sharks wise, you'll take that for sure. Going through the final stats as we welcome all those watching Brody and Curtis. Welcome to Teal Town After Dark. You are joined by Eric, Chris, and our special guest, Kurt Price from Let's Go Blues Radio. Overall final stats, 32-24 in favor of the Blues. Face-offs, the Sharks had a slight edge, 53-47. Both teams scored a power play goal. Sharks going 1 for 2. Blues perfect on their lone man advantage. Hits, Blues near a little over 2-1 advantage, 26-12. Block shots, the Sharks had that edge, 19-13. And overall, looking at the time on ice, everybody was pretty much in the same boat. And here's the other problem on the back-to-back. Barclay Goodrow only played a minute 56. Looks like he tweaked something, maybe residual from that hit late in the game against Chicago last night and he wasn't seen much after the first period. Blues-wise, I mean, pretty much right up the middle, except for Schmaltz and Bortuzzo on the defense end. Everybody was in the 21 to 28 minute mark there. Let me ask you about this, Kurt. Jake Allen, and I follow a number of Blues fans on Twitter, and there's a lot of people who have like, oh my God, Jake Allen he just sucks. And then there's it's not all Jake Allen's fault. So
it's a polarizing figure on Blues Twitter, from what I've noticed.
Yes. So help me out and help some of the Sharks fans out in this sense as to the whole thing about Jake Allen.
Man, okay, that's that's a very touchy subject for whatever reason. On Twitter. I don't understand the factions of Allen fans and anti-Allen fans, and the passion that both groups have. It's very strange. Personally, I would think this is the way that a rational fan would react to the whole situation. Is that if Jake Allen is struggling, which he struggled the vast majority of the season, he was not very good. But so if that's happening, and your backup Hutton is playing very well, actually, he's I believe he still leads the league in GAA and save percentage. And he basically saved the Blues season when Allen was struggling. The Blues were really struggling with 4 goals, and Hutton was shutting the door. So I don't know if that, and for whatever reason, the people who were Allen fans decided they were upset with Hutton, or they wanted to get, okay, yeah, Hutton's playing great, but let's get Allen back in there. Or the only reason Hutton's playing well is because the team in front of him is playing better when Hutton's in net. And the only reason Allen's struggling is because the Blues can't score when he's in goal. And it was like making excuses for Allen and for the reason behind his play, and then making excuses for to discredit Hutton's good play. It's very strange. I don't get it. Personally, me, I'm like, you know what? If Allen's struggling and Hutton's playing fantastic, then you roll with Hutton for a while and you see how it goes, and then you give Allen the occasional start. You basically flip-flop roles.
Right.
Because Allen was playing poorly. I mean, it was for a long time. So you flip-flop for a while. Hutton's the number one. He had the hashtag starter Hutton on Twitter for a long time this season. So, which was, I like that, it was fitting. But so, and you basically make him the number one and Allen number two for a while. And then if Allen spot starts, just like you would a backup, and if Allen starts to play well, maybe working back in some more starts. I thought that was a perfectly rational way to do it. And that's what the Blues basically did. But Allen fans didn't like that for some reason. I'm not sure why. And then Hutton gets hurt. And then Allen takes over again. And before Hutton got hurt, Allen had played well. His previous couple starts didn't get the win in one of them, I believe. Played really well against Boston. Didn't get the win because we couldn't score. But now Allen has been really, really good since Hutton went down. But now Hutton, I think, is back. So yeah, he came back. He was back up to tonight. So
from the chat, someone was asking, did Allen end up being injured or something, or was it just he was in a funk?
He was in a funk. Now, some people would say, and there was somebody on Twitter that was trying to start a rumor saying that Allen had a concussion, and it wasn't reported, wasn't diagnosed, or whatever. And he was trying to play through it, which I think is ridiculous. There's no. Our show has a handful of sources, and that was our sources said no, that's ridiculous. That's nothing we've heard. So we I will believe that over somebody else on Twitter who says they have a source. I'll believe my source over theirs. So
Twitter truthers,
whatever. But yeah, I don't think he was hurt. I just think because Allen, this happened last year. Was Allen hurt last year too? He had a big swoon last year too, but not as big as this year. Even when the Blues were playing really well to start the season, which they were like December 1st, they were like number one in the NHL, something like that, or tied for first, whatever it was. But even when they were playing well at that point, his numbers weren't fantastic. The Blues were scoring a lot of goals then. So he was like at a 905, 910 GAA save percentage with a 2.5 goals against average. It wasn't anything great. So, but I don't think he was hurt. No.
So some element of whoa, just got massive feedback. Some element of Blues Twitter is like, oh yeah, concussions can't melt steel beams or something like that, right?
Blues Twitter is very. I don't know how it goes for other teams. I assume it's similar. I don't know. Blues Twitter can be very entertaining. There are a lot of polarizing figures on Blues Twitter.
Oh my, you have no idea. Actually, no, I'm sure you do. No, I was commenting the other night just on the fact that the second Chicago went up, everyone just lost their mind. There's not everyone, but there's a huge amount of people who are just losing their minds. Like, forget the 7-game winning streak. We're down 2-1 to Chicago. Oh my gosh, they can't beat bad teams, except for when they do, and we just ignore that. But if you saw my Twitter the other night, I was mocking that a little bit. I was like, oh,
waiting for the implosion in 3, 2, 1.
forget the idea that any team can beat any team on any given night. They're professional hockey teams. Forget that entirely. It's just, that can't happen, right?
So. Oh, no. I'm sorry. No. We need fireworks. We need hot takes here. Come on, man.
You know what bothers me most about Twitter or social media in general is that if like the Blues were a bubble team right now, they're flirting with not making it, making it. The odds of them making the playoffs right now are actually very high based on the remaining schedule and who they play and who plays who and stuff like that, and the points they can get. They're looking really good to make it right now. But it is very interesting to me and somewhat frustrating, I guess, and confusing that when the Blues are in a spot like they are now, or maybe a few games ago, even when they're like just out of the playoffs, fans were like, I don't want them to make the playoffs. I'm rooting against them. I don't know if every fan base has these weird fans that don't. I mean, okay, wanting your team to tank if you're in the bottom 3 of the league is different. But if you're like borderline playoffs, why would you not want the team to make the playoffs? First off, the team needs the revenue. I mean, first round playoff revenue is substantial. So a lot of teams need that first round playoff revenue to turn a profit for the season or to break even. So, and the Blues are one of those teams, reportedly. So alone, if you want the team to spend to the cap next year and next seasons, you want the team to make money. I mean, you want that revenue. So, I mean, rooting, like throwing the team out the window and saying, I don't want them to make the playoffs for whatever reason. It's just disgruntled fans that get upset. And
the difference between drafting 13th and 17th is so substantial, don't you know? I mean, it's a big difference. Unless you're the Oilers, in which case you could be on the bubble and you probably still get the first overall pick. But let's not get into conspiracy theories here.
Oh man, don't get me started with the Oilers and conspiracy theories.
I think we're kindred spirits a little bit in that our pain in San Jose. You guys have been close. We've been close. Been bridesmaid, never the bride, many times. So you know how the routine goes, and I'm sure you have plenty of fans who are like, I'd rather never make the playoffs and go once and win it all, as if that's some formula that you can actually carry out.
Oh yeah, we've had that discussion too. It was like, oh, would you rather miss the playoffs for the next 15 years and win a cup this year? And I'm like, man, I don't think so. Because you know what? If you miss the playoffs 15 years in a row, you won't have a team here in St. Louis in 10 years. The fans would not go to games. I mean, the fan base here, I'm not trying to discredit the fan base. The hockey fans in St. Louis are passionate and loyal, and they're great. But they get pissed, and they take it out by not going to games. It's not that it's not saying they're fair weather by any means. Some cities may be that way, but when Blues fans don't go to games, it's not because they're fair weather. It's because they're pissed off at the GM or the way the team's being managed, and they don't want to pay to see it.
What?
we know exactly how that is.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, very similar for San Jose. Same thing. Making a profit, you got to make the playoffs. Controversial GM decisions, the whole lot there. I mean, we used to have the longest sellout streak for the longest time, and then I think we broke it 2 or 3 years ago after the reverse sweep. So it's been an ongoing struggle and debate, and the whole idea of would you like I've long said it's better to be in the playoffs every year, and you might get lucky. Like 2016, there was definitely some luck involved. The Sharks had everything really fall in line and almost made it. So.
Yeah. Well, we know farewell. It was you guys knocked us off, but yeah, I think we were in the playoffs 25 straight years, and you would think we would have gotten lucky one of those times. Didn't go to the finals one of those times. Got close a couple times, but yeah, and so but I have so many fantastic playoff memories from spread out throughout those 25 years of playoff of making the playoffs that I wouldn't. I mean, I want to win a cup. Don't be stupid. But I love those memories. Those are fantastic. So I mean, I'm not bitter about not winning the cup yet. I might be when I'm 60.
Yeah, exactly. If you're like getting close to your deathbed and you're like, we still haven't won the damn cup yet. Come on, guys, really? Yeah. But I think Blues fans, Canucks fans, and Sharks fans, we understand each other in that respect. You guys have had it a little bit longer than us, but I think there's a lot of we all understand each other.
I feel bad for Washington. Their fans a little bit.
Them too, yeah.
Up there.
Question that I have for you, Kurt, is with and I don't mean to bring up negative stuff.
Just bring it up.
I know. With the Rams relocation, has that ignited or increased the popularity of the Blues, or is there just that we don't have football? Meh.
There's a lot of. I mean, I imagine this is the same way in a lot of cities. A lot of overlap. Most Cardinals fans are Blues fans. A lot of Blues fans are Cardinals fans. There's overlap with the Rams fans too. I don't know. I don't know if it's worked out that way or not, to where there's no more football. So I guess the people who were spending money on NFL tickets would then spend money for Blues tickets. I'm sure that's the case with some people, but I haven't really. I have noticed more Blues talk on the radio, to be honest, because there's not a lot of Ram shows on. They'd have Ram shows on the radio in the off season, which was kind of weird to me. During they have Rams shows after the football season was over when the Blues were playing, and it's like, I'd rather hear about Blues hockey right now, thank you. But I don't know. I don't see a huge wave of fans coming over from the Rams. I think a lot of them were fans of the Blues anyway.
Do they like hate watch the Rams on there? Because I live in San Diego, and they also lost a team here, and man, do they hate watch the Chargers? Do they do the same thing there?
A lot of people do, yeah. And it's not, and I feel I kind of do. Although they were fun to watch this last year, but a lot of the team left here under such negativity, and I don't know how if the team would actually leave a city with under good pretenses, but Kroenke really burned a lot of bridges. He really, I mean, I don't know how much info got out to other parts of the country about what went down in St. Louis, but Kroenke, they would burn him at the stake here in St. Louis. I mean, they hate that man, and he owns the Avalanche too. So anytime the Avs come here, it's you hear people mention once in a while, hey, got to be Kroenke's team. So it's so it's a thing where Kroenke is a hated man, and in St. Louis, I think the fans hate the ownership more than the team itself, to be honest.
Yeah, that sounds about right. So on the subject of teams, ownership, relocation, or even potentially expansion, what's your take on the Seattle situation, or going to 32 teams?
Seattle did sell a boatload of tickets, or the promise of tickets, or whatever it was. So, I mean, I think that's a nice place for a team. I think natural rivals are Vancouver and
maybe us.
Yeah, you guys. So I mean, I'm you know what, I'm all for. I was not a huge fan of the Vegas experiment. I didn't know what to expect with it. I thought it might be more of a novelty thing there, but it's hard to judge that right now too, because they're winning. So a lot of people are going to show up to a team that wins. The real test would be if they're not very good. So,
yeah, that might give them a chance though to establish that foothold. I think that's part of the reason why the expansion rules are so good. They're like, we can't have this team sludge in the mud for years on end and try to actually build some kind of a hockey culture there. I think they needed them to be good, or at least not be horrible off the bat. So I don't know. I say I was kind of 50-50 on Vegas. I honestly, the prospect of Seattle seems a little better to me, because I know the market. I know they already, I know a lot of people up there are Silvertip fans and all that, and they already love their minor league hockey up there. So
yeah, and they have what their professional teams are. It's just the
Seahawks and Mariners.
Oh yeah. How can I forget the baseball? Okay, so yeah, and actually, to be honest, I was supposed to go to a Knights game early in the season when the Blues were there, and didn't make it out there. But I was really excited about going, so I was like, you know what? If I were in Vegas, I would love to take in a hockey game there.
Oh yeah.
So the more I think about it as the season went on, the more I liked the fact there was a team there. So.
I know a few Oiler fans who are basically, it's cheaper for them to fly to Vegas and get tickets there in a hotel than it is. And the same thing, I'm sure, with the Leafs and some other of the, some of the bigger city franchises. Because I know I was in Chicago last week, and I was like, oh yeah, I can probably get cheap tickets because they're out of the playoffs. Yeah, cheapest seats were like $80. It's like they suck, and it's against the Canucks, who are also terrible. And it was like, yeah, I'm not paying that much for that.
Chicago fans come down here in droves when the Hawks are here in St. Louis because it's much cheaper to, like you said, fly down here, get a hotel, get a ticket, than it is to see a game up there.
Yeah, and you get to be a pain there in your enemy's barn. So there's that.
Right, exactly. And it's why I really do, because we play the Hawks twice. The third to last and second last game of the season. And the second to last game of the season is in Chicago, and I really do want to go to that game, but I don't pay what they want for tickets up there. So
yeah. So a couple of comments from the chat here real quick. One of them is just me. Is there a little shark talk on Sports Radio in the Bay Area? Yep. No, we've kind of, we don't talk about that very often on here because we kind of burned that one out a couple of years ago in the early days. Yeah. We're like, be the change you want to see. That's why we're here. So that's why, if you want to subscribe, hit the button, because we do talk Sharks quite a bit around here, mostly Sharks. Yes. And then also, I'm not sure what this exactly how to pose this question, but I'll just read it out loud. So I just got in. How are the Blues doing in St. Louis? I feel like no one talks about them unless it's in a negative way, which I think is messed up because they're a good team. I guess that's kind of asking like where do they stand in the market? I know that is a Cardinals town, but where do they kind of stand overall?
The Blues. This has been talked about a lot. Well, a number of times that I've heard that the Blues are well supported in St. Louis. They have a very passionate, very diehard fan base here, and it has been discussed. You mentioned being a Cardinals town, which it is. I mean, the Cardinal baseball is a religion here in St. Louis. But I think the question has been posed before on Sports Talk Radio in St. Louis that if you had a choice, for the Cardinals to win the World Series, which one would happen first? The Cardinals to win another World Series, or the Blues to win a Stanley Cup? And the overwhelming result is the Blues to win the Cup, because, and I think that's understandable because they'd never won one. I've been to the Cardinals Stanley Cup, to the Cardinals World Series parades, and they're fantastic. There's a massive turnout. But if the Blues would win one, the turnout would be ridiculous. It would be, I can't even imagine the turnout that would be. It would just just because of it's been 50 plus years, and they have the first one. So the first one's, people, players always talk about the first cup being, usually more special. It would be something to see the Blues franchise win their first cup, just like I'm sure you guys would, just get that first one. It'd be kind of cool.
It was like that feeling with 2010 when the Giants won their first World Series. I would think it was the same in 81 when the Niners won their first Super Bowl. There's always that first one that you always remember, and it's always got a special place in your heart. So yeah, I can completely agree with you on that.
I was in SF for the parade for the Giants when they won in 2010. It was insane. Like, I've been around a few different parades. I've seen a few on TV. That one was, like that. You could just feel like 50 years of tension just completely released all at once. So yeah, I imagine it'll be very similar in San Jose when that happens, and St. Couis and Vancouver, they'll just burn it down.
Yes, indeed. Couple of things that I've noticed through Blues Twitter. The goal song kind of got changed a little bit, which I think is almost sacrilegious in St. Louis. What was going on there?
We've
been through many goal song changes, and we know what that little controversy is like.
Thanks AJ.
we have a starting, I think it was last season, the Blues hired a hype man at the games to assist Angela Sharp with an in-game presentation. And he's a DJ from a local radio station in St. Louis, and he is in charge of hyping the crowd up, which is not really necessarily. But yeah, he and I think that's kind of his deal. Is the change of the goal song. And now I do believe they still, now that he brought in the woo from Ric Flair, which really annoyed a lot of people. Some people liked it. Some people were just, and I think I think it was overdone, and a lot of fans, a number of fans just went crazy with it and were pissing off everybody. So yeah, that I don't know. You don't screw with tradition in St. Louis. I don't think with the goal song. I mean, to me, if it were to me, I'd have a lot more of the organist playing in between plays and things as opposed to actual music. I like when the Saints when the Blues come marching in being played. I like the Budweiser theme that they play. I love it. That's blues hockey to me. No other team that I know of in the NHL plays the Budweiser march at the arena. Maybe they do, but that's kind of a St. Louis thing. And when the Blues go marching in, or when the Saints go marching in, however you want to say it, because the fans used to sing when the Blues come marching in, when the Blues come on the ice, back in the day when the early days of expansion. And so that stuck, and that song was played on the organ. So that was fantastic. That's a St. Louis thing, and they bring in popular music now, which a lot of the fans like, and I like good music too. But every team's doing that, so I kind of like going to a game and hearing your stuff as opposed to something I hear on the radio myself.
Yeah.
The Sharks went the other way. They actually brought in an organist for the first time a couple years ago, which I think was a great addition. And they also brought in Sandstorm. So,
yes. But, of course, like Christine says in the chat, ask Sharks fans how they feel about the woo. And, yeah.
I don't think they're going to keep the woo in St. Louis. Wait, because I think Patrico is his name, the hype man. He responded to it on Twitter, and he was just like, "Oh, it was like we were just trying something out." And so he heard the backlash. So we'll see if he does it again.
Yeah, it was apparent on the broadcast. As a logo and uniform geek, I gotta ask this question because, and I forgive everybody for it, but why the change to white numbers? Because I think the Blues were always blue jerseys with yellow numerals on their dark jerseys. What was the rationale on that?
It was a some people call it a minor change. I thought it was a major change. I don't hate it, but I prefer yellow numbers. So I wish they would have stuck with yellow numbers. Their third jerseys, the past few seasons, they don't have this year because no one does. But the third jerseys were a darker blue with the round blue note and arch thing on the chest with white numbers.
Love that.
So that and they may have liked the way those white numbers looked on those jerseys and kind of brought that element to the home jerseys this season. So I mean, I don't know. I'd prefer yellow. That's what it's always been. But I don't know. Some people actually to start the season there was some talk about it, but I haven't heard a whisper about it since. So I guess fans don't really care too much in St. Louis about it, but I do. That's my preference.
Gotcha. Chris, is it time?
I think it's time.
All right. It's time for the NHL wrap around. That's right. The wrap around.
There's no other term for it?
No, there isn't. No.
Are you sure?
I'm very sure. I
mean, when you wrap, what do you do? Do you reach around or?
It's the wrap around. All right, we have games.
The chat disagrees with you as always.
Of course they do.
I say tomato.
All right. All right, let's talk about the recap of games in action tonight around the NHL and the playoff implications along with it at this time. In New Jersey, the Devils beat the Hurricanes 4-3. Kyle Palmieri with 2 goals as Kincaid gets the victory for the Devils as they keep their playoff hopes alive. In Ottawa, the Islanders win 4-3 over the Senators. Andrew Ladd, former Winnipeg Jet, gets the game-winning goal with 2:03 left in regulation, like maybe not even 2.5 minutes after Bobby Ryan had tied it in the third for the Sens. In Detroit, the Red Wings 5, the Penguins 2.
I think you mean bad guys 2, good guys 5.
If you want to call the Red Wings good guys, it's
in that context, yes.
Yeah, in that context, yes. And even, it's still weird to say Red Wings good guys, even though they're not in the right conference as they should be. Cronwall, Nielsen, Glendening, Helm, and Glendening again. For the Red Wings, as Jimmy Howard gets the victory, Matt Murray takes a loss for Pittsburgh. In Nashville, the Predators win in a shootout 2-1 over Minnesota, as Minnesota tied it up with 3:15 left thanks to Eric Stahl's 40th goal of the season.
Wow, that was a wild one.
Yeah, really a nail biter and a barn burner in Nashville, would you say? In a shootout, the Winnipeg Jets win 5-4. The Jets had a solid 4-1 lead, and the Bruins come back in the third with a 3-goal third. Unbelievable game as the Jets continue to roll as they have already clinched the playoff spot. In a game that they needed to win, Dallas wins 3-2 in overtime as Alex Radulov gets the game winner 40 seconds into overtime, his 27th of the season. And games in progress right now, well, it's just about to wrap up, but would you believe the Oilers had a 3-0 lead? Connor McDavid hits 100 points, and the Blue Jackets are about to win 7-3 over the Edmonton Oilers.
I mean, that pretty well sums up the Oilers season this year, I think.
Yikes. Cam Talbot was pulled after he let in 5 goals, and that one's a toughie one. And one important game for Sharks fans and many in the wild card race, basically also for our St. Louis fans too. Canucks 1, Ducks 1 after 2 periods. Cogliano gets his 9th on the season at 17:06 of the second to even up the score. So 1-1 for Ducks and Canucks.
I feel dirty rooting for the Canucks.
Well, how do you think Kings fans felt about rooting for the Sharks earlier this evening? So
I'm happy to disappoint them.
Oh, same here.
I think they're going to miss the playoffs.
It's going to be tight.
If only.
Because they play one more game, and I think Colorado's gonna pass them. Don't they play each other? Colorado and LA coming up?
I believe they do. I don't know offhand.
So I'm kind of rooting for Anaheim versus San Jose, if only that way I could probably get tickets and drive up there, because I wouldn't want to drive up all the way to freaking LA. You know, it's like an hour from Anaheim to LA in traffic. You know that, and they're right next to each other.
Right.
I've heard horror stories about the traffic in the area.
Yeah, the Bay Area is getting
special. Yes,
the Bay Area is getting there too. So, as of this moment, maybe there we go. This is the standings in the Western Conference. Vegas at 103. With the Sharks' loss, they inch closer to clinching the Pacific Division. Sharks at 98. Anaheim really needs these wins, need these points against Vancouver at 91. In the Central, Nashville on a roll at 109. Winnipeg at 104. Minnesota at 94. As you said, Kurt, they're within range for the Blues to get that number 3 spot. So that's
would have been nice if they could have lost in regulation tonight, but
yeah. The Blues win gets them into the first wild card at 91. LA sits in the second wild card spot at 91 as well, both with 40 rows. Colorado at 90. Dallas at 86. They got their big win. With the Blues victory, it eliminated Calgary from the playoff race. So, and now, you know, we can say this now, Chris, because we're getting to the nitty gritty. If the playoffs started today,
we can say it.
We can say it. If the playoffs started today, the tickets for your last 5, 6, 7 games would not be allowed to be used. You would have Nashville versus LA, The Blues would go up against the Vegas Golden Knights. Winnipeg would host Minnesota, and the Sharks would take on Anaheim. So, Kurt, I'll ask you first. Would you like Blues and Golden Knights?
I would love Blues and Golden Knights. I think of the teams that we could face realistically right now, that would be Nashville, Winnipeg, and Vegas. I would most certainly choose Vegas of those three. So it's not a knock on Vegas so much. I just think that I just don't want to play Nashville or Winnipeg. And because I think Nashville, Winnipeg Winnipeg is a beast at home, and they would have home ice. Nashville, I don't want any part of them right now. We saw them.
Much rather be in our bracket.
Yeah, I guess so. But like I said, I actually of those three teams, I think Vegas would be the team that would give the Blues the best matchup. I actually said weeks ago that I thought Vegas might be the team that would lose if one of the top teams were to lose in the first round. I think Vegas would be not ripe for the picking, but the team I would choose. They've had a great season, but they are an expansion team. They have got some veterans on the team, but some of their guys are having career seasons, and whether or not that would translate over into the playoffs, you never know, because the playoffs are a completely different animal. As you guys know, as Blues fans know, that
we know too well.
So it'd be interesting to see how that Vegas team handles the playoffs, and I could see them losing to a team like Saint. But they're not playing poorly right now. They're 6-2-2 last 10 I see, and then the Blues are 8-2 in the last 10. So I think a lot of people would write St. Louis off in that series, but I think that the Blues could upset Vegas in that series.
Considering what we've seen this year, that'll be a good series, I think.
I think all the first round matchups look pretty good, actually. Right now.
And I'm liking the idea of payback with Anaheim, because I'm still sore about 10 years ago.
Yeah, they're one of the few teams that the Sharks still have a grudge on that they need to take down. I think it's Anaheim, Edmonton, Chicago, and Dallas are the only teams that they've not won a playoff series against. And Anaheim and San Jose would be a good matchup, would be an interesting matchup for sure, too. So go ahead, Chris. I'm sorry.
So, yeah, to some extent, we've settled the score with the Kings, not completely since we didn't win the Cup, but settled the score with them. Settled the score at least somewhat with St. Louis, because, you guys have gotten the better of us. We've gotten the better of you a few times. But, yeah, Quackaheim, as they were saying in the chat right there. Yes, Quackaheim. we want a piece of that, because, yeah, that one series, that was way too short of a series, and that was a very the President's Trophy year ends in the first round.
I'm still bitter about the Owen Nolan goal from center ice.
I'm sure.
Yeah. That one's I could get that. That was totally painful.
My co-host at that goal, he was over at my house watching the game, and he almost put his hand through my floor. That goal
no!
Touched the floor, and yeah, it was pretty loud. So it was not a good goal. Not a good game for the Blues. So still bitter about that one.
Yeah, that one's painful, but yeah, there have been some painful games between Blues and Sharks, man.
Oh yeah,
that 2012 series is pretty painful for us.
Well, how do you think the Blues fans feel when every single time the playoffs roll around or Blues play Red Wings, they show the damn Yzerman goal from the blue line?
Oh God,
out in Game 7, double overtime. That sucked.
Yeah, yeah. No, we know we have to hear about the reverse sweep, and yeah, no, I mean, we I think we could exchange painful memories all night.
Mm-hmm.
Quick one from the chat there. Rob Lyman said, "Fact or fiction? Sharks beat Quackenheim in 5." I would say fiction. I'll take it 6.
Yeah, I would say 6 games, if not 7. I don't.
Phantom is saying, "Why not 4?"
It'd be great to have the second sweep in Sharks history. I just don't see it.
Yeah, our one sweep was against the Canucks, and that felt like 100 sweeps.
Oh man, and the reaction on Vancouver radio was priceless. Oh, gosh.
One of my favorite Twitter accounts at the time was like Vancouver fans or something like that, where it was like you would just find all the worst Vancouver fan tweets and just retweet them all the salty bitterness. And of course, these guys listen to what was it? I forget what's the radio station up there?
TSN 1040.
Yeah, they like listen to all the salty Canucks fans late into the night. It's music to their ears.
It's painful, but Sharks in 3. Yeah, no, we can't. No, that no.
Why not Zoidberg?
All right. Well, we want to thank Kurt Price from Let's Go Blues Radio. Tell the people where they can find you and your show and your podcast at.
We do our weekly show live. We used to do it like you guys do here, the live show on YouTube, but YouTube suspended our account for whatever reason. I have no idea.
What?
Yeah, you asked me what, I would love to tell you. I have no idea.
We've actually fought with them once or twice over strikes on this channel as well. So I feel YouTube is terrible about being transparent on these things.
Well, I mean, we have another platform we can use, or we can just use a different account on YouTube, but which they say not to do, but whatever. So we're still doing our show. So it's letsgoblues.com/radio for the show's website, and on Twitter we're at LGB Radio, and we do our, like I said, a weekly live show, very similar to what you guys put on here. So and we have fun with it, like you guys do.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. Chris, tell them where the people can find you.
You can find... Well, what?
If they're careful.
Oh, yeah, I know. I mean, my stuff is rated R for sure. You can find me on Twitter at ChrisJWS. Follow me if you like terrible tweets. My tweets are not very good, so you probably shouldn't follow me. And, of course, always follow Teal USA and subscribe right here.
Gotcha. Of course, you can always follow me on Twitter at PuckGuy14, also on the Instagram. And of course, if you've missed anything or you want to watch this again, by all means, check us out on tealtownusa.com or your favorite podcatcher, whether it's iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, Stitcher, TuneIn, and YouTube. Check us out there. We have a number of things coming up soon. We have Pucknologist is actually recording right now as we speak, so that'll be out either late tonight or tomorrow morning. We also have an interview with Jonathan Becker, the co-president of the San Jose Sharks. So that's going to come out soon with some unique stuff and a perspective, because not only is he the president, he was also a season ticket holder. So unique perspective there coming up soon. So be on the lookout for that. Check us out on Teal Town USA. And with that, we thank you. We will be back with you following Sharks in Nashville. We should expect a check-in, I believe, from Rocket Backhander from Rocketville. And hopefully, maybe, let's see. I got to figure this out here, make sure, with St. Louis winning. So 6 games left for Colorado. They hit 102, 103. The magic number is 5. So probably not a clinching scenario Thursday night, but they are getting very, very close to it. So until Thursday night, keep it real, keep it teal, keep it real teal. We will see you Thursday night after Nashville.